Warthog mining has been going off the charts over the last couple of weeks. Hash rate is flying up along with the price. There's a ton of people getting on the network. So I thought, why not build an absolute monster rig and get as much Warthog as possible before this hash rate climbs even higher. What's up guys, my name's Chris, I'm the bear market miner, and today I'm going to take you through a build video. We're going to set up a 7950X paired with a 3090 GPU and see what hash rates we can get. So before we get into it, do me a favor, hit that like button, consider subscribing, and let's get straight into it. All right, first up, we've got the motherboard, the Asus Prime B650M-A Wi-Fi 2, an AM5 socket motherboard, which we need for our CPU. Now, this was one of the cheaper motherboards I could find in this build for Warthog specifically, and generally CPU mining all over. What type of motherboard you've got is not going to make a huge difference. So we've gone for a cheapie there. Next up, we've got, of course, the let's get that in there, the 7950X Ryzen 9 CPU. So this thing's a beast, one of, if not the best CPUs on the market, so that's going to be nice. Same again, we've seen these fans before if you've watched my previous builds. The Assassin Spirit 120 V2 Plus, these things are beast. 66 or so CFM, the dual fan. Haven't had any issues with any of my 5900Xs or other builds. This thing's kept them super cool. Some of the lesser important components, we've just got DDR5 RAM. So if you can see that, bit bright, but you get the gist. What is it? 4800 megahertz, 8 gigabyte once again, nice and cheap. Not going to be a huge issue. RAM is not going to bottleneck our CPU in this case for Warthog. And finally, just an SSD. I pulled off an old build. This is like a 1 terabyte, so massively overkill for what we need, but it's all we had spare. And in the spirit of saving money, we've just thought we'd throw that on. So I won't go through the whole build. I've done that multiple times. If you're interested in seeing how to build a motherboard, I've got a few previous videos on that, so check them all out on the channel if you want to know how to set this all up. So I'll get this built, and then we'll jump into the BIOS and we'll start looking at some of the settings, because there are a few different things you need to do, like curve optimizers for this 7950X and a few other little tweaks. So we'll get that built and get it booted up and get moving. So the last thing we needed to do was plug that 3090 in, and she's away and mining. Now I will save you the step-by-step build video. If you are looking for ideas and instruction on how to do that, I will leave a link above to how to exactly install all these parts. But she's away, she's mining, going really well. So next up, we'll jump into HiveOS and we'll start talking about overclock settings and BIOS settings. So first up, my HiveOS settings. You can see we've got our core locked at 1480 and our core clock offset at 250. Now I did give this more power, all the way up to 1600 on the core clock and down to 150 on the clock offset, and found sort of negative returning gains on that. I was getting slightly more hash rate, but I was using a fair bit more power and reducing my efficiency numbers down by about 20%. So I found this was the sweet spot. Of course, the memory clock locked at 810, like you should for all of your Warthog rigs. My power limit 180, which is just over what I will be using, just to safeguard for any issues if something happens. Now, this rig is wired properly, so it could run at full throttle without any issues, but I like to set that power limit anyway. The last command you can see in here is Warthog CPU threads. Now, the latest version of BZ Miner will automatically reduce the amount of threads you're using by 4, I believe is the number, just to free up a little bit more space for the system processes to work in the background. But on this 32 thread 7950X, I've decided to bump it up to 30, giving me an extra 2 threads to use. Much more efficient, much better hash rate, and it's been stable. So that's where we're at with the HiveOS settings. Now, if you are looking on how to set up a wallet and all of that, I will leave a card in the video here somewhere for you to click on and figure out exactly how to do all of that stuff. Now, as far as BIOS settings, I've only touched a few different things here. I've done something slightly different with this 7950X. Normally, I would just undervolt my CPU so it uses less power, but in this case, I've set a PPT limit, which is going to set the amount of power to a maximum of 135 watts in this particular case. That was the sweet spot I found. If I went higher, the CPU was running a little bit hotter than I would like for sort of negative returning gains again, you know, maybe 2-3% boosts as we went up 10 watts or so. So not really worth it. I did overclock the RAM also. Now, RAM is not a huge factor when it comes to Warthog mining, but we've done that anyway. And of course, the last thing is the curve optimizer. I set at -15. I could probably go slightly lower, but with my power limit set, you know, I'm going to be well over what it wants to pull anyway. So I think that curve optimizer going any lower isn't going to make a huge difference. So we are in the miner right now. As we can see, it's almost done calibrating. It's going to do that every time just to get you the best Verus hash score and a target CPU hash rate. So we see the max Verus here is 58.57. This is for this 7950X. As we said, it's a bit of a beefcake of a CPU. So really good, actually better than my 9950X, which I've currently got in this PC right now. So go figure, latest generation, not as good. It happens, so we won't be too surprised by that. And here we have it, our very first tick. We can see our Janus per hour, 1055 mega hash, so 1.055 gigahash. We've hit that 1 gig. We have maxed this out a fair bit. I wouldn't necessarily recommend running this on these temps constantly unless you can. We'll jump on over into the miner in a second, see exactly what temperature it's running at, but you know, 1 gigahash for a 7950X and a 3090, so a little milestone. Real happy with that. So let me know what you guys are getting on other rigs, because I'm always interested to know what people are getting and are sort of maximizing, min-maxing their CPU and GPU combos. Looking at the main page here on our HiveOS, now we can see we're at 87 degrees as our CPU temp. Now this is why I was saying I wouldn't max this out as hard as this long term, but I mean, AMD does say that these can run at 90 degrees 24/7 without an issue. It's at 95 degrees Celsius where they start to thermal throttle. So the idea is with these higher end CPUs, you're supposed to push them. You're supposed to get the temps up there. You're supposed to get as much power as possible. Now this is with minimizing our power draw as well. So you can imagine if I just let this roam free with that particular cooler I've got on it, which is a good cooler, you'd be having problems real quick. But it's been running at 80 to 85 degrees for quite some time now. Now I probably will turn these clocks down a little bit just to be safe, but I think with a 7950X, getting comfortable at 80 degrees is really good if you want to, you know, push the maximum performance out of this. Otherwise, you're just leaving so much on the table. And what's the point buying a high-end CPU like this, right? So 7950X, 3090, 1 gigahash achieved. Real cool. Twice what I'm getting on my 5900Xs. So definitely a cool little milestone to hit 1G on one rig. Next up, let's take a look at exactly how this performs against other algorithms, and let's have a little bit of a talk about price. But before we do, I want to give a quick shout out to today's sponsor, Cryptominerbros. As a lot of you guys know, I'm not just into GPU and CPU mining, I'm also into home ASIC and big boy ASIC mining as well. So we do have a code with them. If you are interested, please stay tuned, check out the video coming up, and then we'll get straight into more Warthog information. Attention crypto miners, are you ready to level up your mining game? Then look no further than Cryptominerbros.com, your go-to source for top of the line mining equipment. Cryptominerbros stock the latest ASIC miners and partner with the most trusted brands like Bitmain, Goldshell, Jazzminer, and Ice River, just to name a few. Plus, with manufacturer's warranties of 6 to 12 months,
worldwide shipping, and 24/7 customer support, you're fully covered no matter where you are. And don't forget, you can use code BEARMINER at checkout or click the link in description to save $70 on all products store-wide. Visit Cryptominerbros.com today and start mining smarter. So this rig, as of current prices for Warthog, and we'll get into that in a sec, at 1050 mega hash, it is using 374 watts at the wall. This includes the motherboard and the fan as well. That is always forgotten about when people do calculations with things like this, but it's another 60-70 watts, so definitely something to consider. But at current prices, at my electric rate, $1.59 USD, so about $2.20 or so worth of profit. So really, really nice. And I want to compare that to how these particular items, the 7950X and the 3090, would go on other algorithms. So we got $1.59 profit right there, and we'll jump on over and have a look on hashrate.no. Under the GPU section for the 3090, very dismal, a whopping 2 cents profit. Now, you can squeeze a little bit more out of this. These numbers aren't exact, but even if you said 5-10 cents, maybe, to be lucky, you know, and then you combine that with your 7950X, which is making allegedly 33 cents on Dero. It's less than that. Trust me, I've tested it. But you know, if we assume that we're making 30 cents out of the GPU and CPU combined, or 40 cents even, then you compare that to $1.60 almost on Warthog. It's 4 times as profitable. And I've been saying this for months and months and months. It seems like now Warthog's getting a little bit more mainstream attention, I guess. I'm a fairly small creator, so I mean, a lot of people actually looked at those Warthog videos, but the hash rate didn't really boom until it did just recently. So looking really nice, $1.59 at the moment profit, and long may it continue. Having a look at the price chart, we can see, you know, when I first started mining Warthog, I think it was around May, maybe a little bit earlier, maybe a little bit later, sorry, but 42 cents it was making. So things were pretty nice right then. And then we just had this constant downward movement, sideways, sideways, sideways. And unfortunately at this point around or so is where I sold a ton of my Warthog. That's just how my luck goes. And then we can see this nice bang price pump over the last bit more than 7 days, I think. Yeah, maybe a couple of weeks now. It's been like this, or close to a month, a few weeks now. What's promising about this is that it seems to have held the price. Now, there has been some bigger investment, which is nice, into Warthog, but I was looking at the charts on, you know, like Mexi, I think it is, ZX and TradeOga. There's a lot of volume, a lot of sell pressure, and we seem to be maintaining this price. So hopefully we can stay in this direction. I've got my whole 6 CPUs maxed out with GPUs on them as well, getting as much Warthog as possible as this hash rate climbs. It's up about a 3x in the past 2 weeks, but you know, that's what happens when people like myself make videos about it as well. I think Rabid did a video. He gets a lot of attention, so I'm sure a lot of people jumped on from there as well, but looking promising. These numbers are in AUD, FYI, just for those of you who don't know. 84 cents USD would be nice, but let's hope we can get back up to these days. Hey, could be a really, really lucrative outing for Warthog. That is going to wrap it up for today, guys. Hopefully you learned something that, or even found it interesting, pushing out 1 gigahash on that Warthog 3090 and 7950X build. Now, let me know what you guys are mining, or if you want to see some overclocking on other CPUs or GPUs, just rigs in general. I've got 5900Xs, 3900Xs, we've got 3070s, 3080s running on Warthog. So let me know if you want to see more Warthog content. As always, please join the Discord. The link is in the description. We've got a dedicated Warthog channel there, just like we do for all other coins. If you need any help, tons of people in there, very active, that can give you a little bit more information on setup. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.